Okay, Chair Miller, we are live.
Excellent. Right, the time is 6 p.m. on June 23rd. We'll now call the June 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee to order. We'll start off with the standard video for the COVID, if you wouldn't mind playing that.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Order N-2920, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should remute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. A 30-second warning will be provided. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the COVID-19 Special Notice for Public Comment Guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ms. Jahan. So if you wouldn't mind going ahead and doing roll call for our attendance.
Okay, when you hear your last name, please let me know you are here. Committee Member Ash. Committee Member Bristow.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Committee Member Hallie.
Here.
Committee Member Hammond.
Here.
Committee Member Hurley. Committee Member Isola. Committee Member Leahy.
Here.
Committee Member Linder.
Here.
Committee Member Moriarty. Committee Member Powell. Committee Member Vega. Committee Member Yao.
Here.
Committee Member Rosenberg.
Here.
And Chair Miller.
Here, I count that we have 9, giving us a quorum.
That is correct.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Before we move on to public comment, I'd like to let members of the public know that they can receive alerts or about this or any other authority committee meeting by visiting ccta.net and then clicking subscribe or ccta.net/subscribe or send an electronic request to the email address info@ccta.net. This evening, have we received any public comment?
We have
Written?
not received any. I'm so sorry, Chair Miller.
Oh, no, I interrupted. Written public comments, sorry.
We have not received any public comment, Chair Miller.
Okay, all right. Are there any members of the public, if you wish to speak during this time, if you wish to make a public comment on an item that is not on the agenda at this time, please raise your hand and staff or I will call upon you. If you have any comments that are not directly related to an item that is on the agenda, if you have agenda-related comments, please save them for that point in our meeting. Do you see any hands, Ms. Jahan?
I do
Do
not
not.
see any hands.
Thank you very much. So then if there's no further comments from the public, we can move on to the next agenda item, which is replacing me, or at least an election. So we're going to have the election of the CAC chair and vice chair. This will be for fiscal year 2021 through 2022. Each nomination must be accepted by the nominee and seconded by another committee member in order to be voted on. So if you're interested in the position, you are welcome to raise your hand and indicate that interest at this time. I'll give you a
Ed?
moment.
Ed, Chairman Ed, I'd like to make a comment. First of
Sure.
all, I want to thank you for the superb job you've done in a most difficult period with this COVID business and the Zoom and trying to keep these meetings organized. It's a challenge. I just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate it, and I'm sure many of the members of the committee also appreciate it. I have a proposal before we put it in a nomination. I would like to put your name in for another full year, so you have the opportunity, hopefully starting in the fall, to actually see us in person, conduct a meeting, in the chambers. And I think you more than deserve it, given the situation that we've all been facing. So I'm putting your name in and nominating you for another one-year term if you accept. It's all up to you.
I would accept a nomination, and we'll look for a second in a moment. I appreciate if anyone would second that. However, I'm not I'm not the only person who deserves such an opportunity, and I guess the only other response I would say is that honestly, Ms. Jahan makes it look very easy. I feel like I've provided a nudge here and a nudge there, but the real kudos belong to her. So thank you very much. And I'll step back, and if anyone wants to second that motion.
I would like to second that.
All right. Let's see. So that's a nomination. Do we have to vote on no, it's just we just have to have a second on a nomination. Eventually we will vote. Okay. All right. Are there other nominations?
I would like to make a nomination that Larry Rosenberg be our vice again, because he did not get the opportunity to have the full experience that he deserves. And when you were absent, he did an excellent job of running the meeting. And so I would like to nominate Larry as our vice chair.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
I will second that nomination. Are there other nominations? I hope so, because I think we've got a very talented group here, and I think a lot of people could step up into this.
I think we've got what we need, and I think we should just move on. Yes.
All right. I will say going once for additional nominations. Going twice. All right. All right.
I call for the question. Let's do it.
Sure. So it has been so moved and seconded that I have been nominated for the chairmanship for an additional year, with Mr. Rosenberg having been nominated and seconded for the vice chairmanship. As there are only two candidates, perhaps we could go with a simple aye, nay vote. Would you do the roll call for that, Ms. Jahan?
Yes, when you hear your last name, please vote aye or nay. I will go through the chair nomination first, followed by the vice chair. So, Committee Member Bristow, how do you vote for the chair?
Aye.
Hallie?
Would it be appropriate to abstain?
You may.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Committee Member Hammond,
Aye.
Committee Member Leahy,
Aye.
Committee Member Linder,
Aye.
Committee Member Yao,
Aye.
Vice Chair Rosenberg,
Aye.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes by majority present with Committee Member Hallie abstaining. Congratulations to our new chair
Thank
and
you very
still
much.
reigning. And we will move on to the approval of
Rosenberg,
the chair, or
vice
sorry,
chair.
excuse me, vice chair. So we had a nomination by Committee Member Bristow for Vice Chair Rosenberg to continue, and seconded by Miller. Please let me know how you vote. Committee Member Bristow,
Aye.
Committee Member Hallie,
Abstain?
Committee Member Hammond,
Aye.
Committee Member Leahy,
Aye.
Committee Member Linder,
Aye.
Committee Member Yao,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair Rosenberg,
Aye.
Chair Miller.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously by majority present with Committee Member Hallie abstaining. Congratulations for Vice Chair.
Yes, I'm glad to have you at my side. You really did a snap job jumping in when I had a personal family emergency, Mr. Rosenberg. So I can't thank you enough for grabbing a hot potato when it was thrown to you. And I heard that it went swimmingly. So I thank you very much for your
Thanks, Ed.
continued assistance. And the rest of you look out, because I'm definitely nominating one of you next go around. I just think there's too much talent in this group to ignore. I'll get to bang a gavel in front of you at some point during the next 12 calendar months, but we've got a good group here. So thank you all. Look forward to serving along with you in this role for the next year. All right, let's see here. So attempting to make sure we don't miss any of the public comment periods. Let's see, election, nomination approval. All right, now we're moving on to the approval of summary actions. This is basically the consent calendar stuff. So these items are informational and consist of the CAC attendance log and upcoming authority meetings schedule. So if you have comments or concerns or corrections to the attendance log as posted in our agenda, or have comments or concerns about the upcoming authority meetings, please raise your hand to make a comment at this time. Does not appear that we have any comments, which is totally normal for this point in the meeting. All right. We don't have to move and vote on that consent calendar, do we? To
The
accept?
consent calendar is informational, so we don't have
Yeah,
to
it's just
move.
informational, no actions.
But the
All right.
summary of actions, we will have to.
That we will, right. Okay, so let's see. All right. Next up is consent calendar. Yeah. So, don't see.
So first was item 4, which
Yeah.
is the summary of actions, and we'll vote on that. And then we'll
Yeah,
go through the consent and take any
Okay,
comments from
yeah.
committee.
very good. Thank you very much. All right, so so the summary of actions from May 26, 2021. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to the minutes from that meeting? All right, then I would like to move that we accept the minutes or summary of actions, if you will, as posted in the agenda. Can I get a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Leahy. All right, moved and seconded. Ms. Jahan, would you call for a roll vote? Thank you.
Committee Member Bristow, how do you vote?
Aye.
Committee Member Hallie?
Aye.
Hammond?
Aye.
Leahy?
Aye.
Linder?
Aye.
Yao?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rosenberg?
Aye.
Chair Miller?
Aye,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you. It's funny, on the planning commission I serve on, we always have corrections to the minutes, but they're so well taken here. Never anything to correct. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is the Town of Moraga's calendar year 2018 and 2019 growth management program compliance checklist. Matt, would you be so kind as to introduce the staff we have here from the city of Moraga?
I'd be happy to. Tonight, for the calendar year 2018-19 Measure J GMP compliance checklist for the town of Moraga, we've got Steve Kowalski, who represents the planning department, and Sharon Chan from the finance department over at the town. So they've been part of the team that put together the checklist. Like I always tell people, it takes a village to put together a checklist. Takes lots of departments, and so they are representing their respective departments tonight and presenting the checklist for the town of Moraga. So I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Good evening, committee members. My name is Steve Kowalski from the Town of Moraga Planning Department. And with me tonight is Sharon Chan from our engineering department, actually not our finance department.
Sorry, Sharon, I got, sorry.
That's okay, Matt. This is Sharon and my first time ever doing one of these presentations. So fortunately, Matt, who's always extremely helpful, gave us some tips on the types of information that the committee generally likes to see in these presentations. So we've done our best to provide that tonight. If it's a little choppy, I apologize in advance, but we're happy to answer any questions that you have at the end of the presentation. Presentation is going to touch upon some of the main highlights from the town's GMP compliance checklist for the 2018-19 calendar year reporting period. We're going to start by covering some planning related items and then move on to the significant transportation infrastructure improvement projects that the town undertook during the reporting period. Okay, so there were actually only two major development project approvals in Moraga during the 2018-2019 calendar year reporting period. A 10-lot single-family residential subdivision called Los Encinos was approved in July of 2019 at the northern end of Bates Drive off of Sanders Drive. The town also approved an addition to the historic Ream Theater movie theater in October 2019 that would have added 2 new auditoriums to the theater, increasing the total screening rooms from 4 to 6. But due to the onset of the pandemic, the theater's owners have temporarily halted plans to build the addition. The theater has been closed for the last probably about 15 months. So it's just really horrific timing. I mean, it was horrific timing for everything, but particularly for the movie theater industry, as we all know. There were no major projects approved in 2018, believe it or not. I mean, Moraga is a small town, so it's probably not too surprising, but no general plan amendments were proposed or approved as well in either 2018 or 19. There were also no projects large enough to trigger a traffic impact analysis, but the Los Encinos project, residential subdivision I mentioned, and the Ream Theater addition, assuming it moves forward one day, are both subject to payment of traffic impact fees to the La Marinda Fee and Finance Authority, and both projects underwent CEQA review during their respective planning approval processes. The Los Encinos project has already paid its traffic impact fees, but the theater project has not yet. This slide shows the town's total housing production for the 2 years of the reporting period. As the table on the left shows, for calendar year 2018, a total of 44 new dwelling units were approved and or built in 2018. Of these units, 32 were townhomes that were built by KB Home in the Moraga Center Specific Plan area along Moraga Way. And 11 were single-family dwellings developed by Summerhill Homes off of Ream Boulevard, and 1 was an accessory dwelling unit, or ADU for short. In 2019, the table on the left, you can see that a total of 25 new dwelling units were approved and or built. 4 of these units were additional townhomes from the KB Home project. 19 were additional single-family homes from the Summerhill project, and 2 were ADUs. All of the townhomes and single-family dwellings were affordable to above moderate income households, while the town typically categorizes its ADUs as being affordable to moderate income households. And we do that by, we base that on comparable rental data for similarly sized apartments whenever we get a new ADU application in. While the town continues to produce above moderate income units at a steady pace, it has not been producing any below market rate or affordable units over the last couple of years. So that's an area we definitely need to improve upon. Even though there were few development projects during the reporting period, the town did continue to make significant progress on its efforts to implement the Moraga Center Specific Plan. In 2018, we have obtained a $140,000 grant from ABAG MTC to complete the new zoning and development standards needed to implement the visions and policies of the specific plan. The town then hired a consultant, Placeworks, in June of 2019 and established a citizens advisory committee shortly thereafter, and proceeded to hold 4 separate CAC meetings over a 4-month period to gather public input during the summer and fall of 2019. The efforts continued into 2020. I know I'm getting out of the reporting period, but did want to share with you the results because the efforts continued and were ultimately completed with the adoption of new zoning in late last year in November of 2020. The specific plan area is now poised to be redeveloped as a compact, walkable downtown district featuring a mix of high-density residential, commercial, and office uses. Basically going to try to create a new downtown where there hasn't been one before. And we already have, incidentally, 2 development applications that have been submitted for that specific plan area. One is a 184-unit senior housing project. So for seniors 55 and over. And the other is a 31-unit single-family residential subdivision, non-age restricted. So those will be market rate units. And at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to our engineer, Sharon Chan, who will tell you about the big transportation-related expenditures that occurred and the main transportation infrastructure improvement projects that the town undertook during the reporting period. Sharon, are you there? You may be muted.
It's always fun dealing with the muting. It's a challenge to more than one person.
Can you hear me now?
You bet. You are coming through loud and clear. Thank you so much.
I don't know what, that was strange. Okay, I apologize. So in 2018-2019, we received Measure J funds for a variety of capital projects in the transportation area. We had the Canyon Road Temporary Bridge, which was an emergency project. And then we also had the Canyon Road Bridge replacement The replacement project is currently still under construction. It was planned to be 2 seasons. It started construction in 2020 amid the pandemic, and we're continuing construction now. We started back in April. Also in 2018, 2019, we did a Moraga Road resurfacing project between Drager and St. Mary's Road, which is about 4,000 feet of roadway that we resurfaced. And then the last one is the Moraga Road Alta Mesa Crosswalk Improvement Project, where we installed some pedestrian improvements, and that was done substantially completed in 2020. So we were busy in 2020. Next slide, Steve.
Next slide. There you go.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. So, so a little bit more detail about the project. The Moraga Alta Mesa, we installed new crosswalk with a flashing beacon and lights and a pedestrian light, along with a pedestrian refuge island in the middle. We also installed bulb outs at the intersection to narrow down the the distance that the pedestrians would have to cross. We installed speed feedback signs in both directions from Moraga Road heading towards Alta Mesa. And we also did the high visibility bike lanes that you can see on the bottom pictures, those bright green bike lanes. We installed those as part of the project as well. In addition to Measure J, we also used TDA grants and Measure K, which is the local funds. Next, Steve. Here's the Moraga Way Street Improvement Project, which improved Moraga Way from Moraga Road all the way to Ivy Drive, which is the border between Orinda and Moraga. It was substantially completed in 2020, in early 2020. And we resurfaced the roadway. We striped some class 2 bike lanes. We made them high visibility as well. We installed sidewalk and pedestrian pathway gaps, curb ramps, and some ADA compliant paths to and from Miramonte High School into Orinda and the Moraga Shopping Center. Funding sources, in addition to Measure J, was Safe Routes to School, the TLC grant, and Measure K. And also as part of that project, we worked on the intersection of Canyon Road and Camino Pablo, which at the intersection is the Joaquin Intermediate School. And so there's a lot of pedestrians and children walking in that area. So at the intersection, we also installed bulb outs to reduce the curb-to-curb distance. We reduced the travel lane from 2 lanes to 1 lane. We installed the flashing beacons with audible signals. We also installed the center median refuge, so pedestrians have a place to sit while they're waiting for traffic. We also did the high visibility bike lanes and the speed feedback signs as well in the northbound direction and entering into town. So the funding sources were very similar to the Moraga Way portion of the project. Next, Steve. So as you can see, our Measure J in fiscal year 17-18 totaled $305,000, and in 18-19 just under 300, so 298. We also use other funds to do. The funds to do pavement maintenance, complete streets, bicycle and safety improvements, ADA improvements, and transportation planning efforts. We've also used money from other funds, such as our pavement management funds and gas tax for street maintenance between these reporting periods. And that concludes our presentation. If you guys have any specific questions, Steve and I would be more than happy to answer them.
Yes, if people have questions on our team, why don't you go ahead and raise your hand. I always have questions, of course, but I like to stay until the end. Oh, Mr.
I
Leahy.
have a question,
Oh, okay.
Chairperson Ed.
I'll call
Question
you
is,
next.
the development you're talking about in the Moraga Shopping Center area, I forgot exactly how many units were going to be developed there. Not as yet, but could you explain that a little bit more? What categories would these units fall into? You know, are we talking about in trying to meet some of the state requirements?
Yeah, so the Moraga Center specific plan had an EIR done about 10 years ago now. And the EIR, the specific plan envisions, and the EIR analyzed, you'll have to forgive me, I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere close to 700 total new housing units in that specific plan area. And these two sites where we have applications that just got submitted this year are two of the sites that were identified. They're both vacant properties that were identified as having the ability to accommodate residential development. One of them is a very large, well, they're both about 6 acres, I think it is. And one of them is going to be developed, it's proposed to be developed with 183 now senior housing units. The developers contemplating condominiums. They might be apartments for rent or they might be condominiums for sale, but they would be age restricted for seniors only and just consist of 1- and 2-bedroom units. The other project is at the very eastern end of Moraga Way. It's an old orchard site, and the same developer owns both sites, and the developer is proposing 31 single-family homes on that site. So 183 senior apartments or condos on one of the sites, and then 31 single-family homes. And those numbers are still kind of
Fluid.
they're not set in stone. It's likely that the 31 unit project may have to be reduced in size by a few units. So nothing's been firmly established as of yet.
Do you think they might meet some of the ABAG requirements or state requirements?
The RENA, yeah, the RENA, the regional housing. Is the 700 number that you threw out earlier, is that the RENA number that was handed to you by ABAG?
No,
Okay.
the RENA number for this upcoming housing element cycle is 1,118. So,
Wow.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And these units would go towards that total, but
Right.
obviously we still need a lot more.
Right.
Everybody's in the same boat when it comes to these new RENA numbers.
Yeah.
Looking at Orinda even needs to provide more than us, and Lafayette as well, even more than Orinda. So
Yeah, I consider Clayton very analogous to Moraga in size, although
Yeah.
you guys have a lot more open land available.
Yeah.
And so our number came in around 4 or 5, around
570.
500. Yeah,
570.
yeah, exactly. 570. So we got off a little bit easier than you, but we also don't have a quite the land to build on.
Yeah.
Mr. Rosenberg, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is near and dear to my heart here. Go ahead.
No problem. Thanks, Ed.
We do
Question
have
is-
a hand from committee member Leahy as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Mr. Rosenberg's complete, but I definitely signaled to Mr. Leahy that I will call on him next for certain. Are you done, Mr. Rosenberg, or got another question?
Thank you, Ed.
Very good. Oh, then just like Ms. Jahan said, Mr. Leahy, go ahead.
Thank you. I was just kind of curious when you mentioned in your presentation about having to, I guess, bring in a consultant to revamp some of your, I guess, zoning ordinances.
Placeworks, right? Placeworks. They're pretty big out of San Diego or somewhere in Southern California, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious, like, how long that process took and what exactly did you need to revamp on your ordinances to make your, I guess it's specifically for your downtown.
Site-specific plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the specific plan had a lot of kind of general policies and a vision, but the town didn't have zoning already in place that it could use to implement those policies in the vision. So we had to create some new zoning districts. One of them is a 20 unit to the acre district, which and then some mixed use development districts, which we didn't previously have on the books. So PlaceWorks' job was to come in and do the outreach, and I mean basically to serve as an extension of town staff, draft some zoning, present it to the Citizens Advisory Committee, and then work on and finalizing it, working with staff to finalize it after getting input from the community, and then presenting it to the town council. And the whole process took just about a year and a half, because PlaceWorks came on board in the summer of 2019, and we've got our final approvals for the new zoning. So it was new zoning, design development standards, like building heights and setbacks and land use regulations, and then also design guidelines, like buildings should feature, Spanish mission style architecture.
Aesthetics.
And, yeah, correct. And those all got adopted in November of 2020. So just about exactly a year and a half to do that process, which is, not terribly long. It's not terribly fast either, but, it was, for Moraga, this kind of a project is a very big deal. So it's been a long time in the making. I mean, the EIR was 11 years ago now. So that's how long it took.
A lot of the elements sound similar to the transformation that Livermore made back in the late 2000s. Yeah.
I hope that answered the committee member Leahy's question.
Yeah, thank you for that insight.
We have
The
a
gentleman from
hand
Orinda.
Member Hammond.
I'm sorry, I'm not using the electronic raise my hand. I can't seem to find it on my computer, but I guess my physical hand worked. I have a question regarding the modifications of Canyon Road at the intersection with Camino Pablo. I noticed quite a bit of narrowing there. And I'm wondering if you have complaints from any of the citizens about the fact that it went from 2 lanes of traffic to 4, or sorry, from 2 lanes to 1 on each side.
Yeah, it's pretty drastic before and after photos, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
a road diet. It's a real live road diet. But Sharon, I'm not aware of any complaints, but they would probably go to our Public Works Department. So Sharon, if you're still on, can you jump in?
Yeah, so after implementation, we haven't received any complaints about it. I mean, I think there's so much pedestrian activity in that area that I'm sure was welcomed. In terms of the planning stage, when the whole road diet was introduced, I don't know if there was any type of pushback to narrowing it down. But right now, it actually works really well. There's rarely a backup until the bridge is under construction, and that's a different story. But I haven't seen any type of backup because it's a neck down from 1 lane to 2 lanes.
And I'm not saying that you're constantly monitoring, but it sounds like from your comments, there hasn't been a drop in the LOS, at least visually, the level of service on that.
Correct.
Just about 200 yards to the right of this photograph is Joaquin Moraga Intermediate School. So like Sharon said, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic at this intersection. I think this was done first and foremost for the safety of the school children.
Mr. Hammond, I never assume that just because I interject, you're done asking questions. So
No, your answer was complete. Thanks very much.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Any other?
Is that it for us?
I'm sure I have a few questions.
Okay.
But I'm used to seeing Miss Bristow say something. It's fine. That's fine, actually. All right, well then I will proceed to ask a couple of questions. So you mentioned the 184 unit development potentially in your the two projects that were put forward. Is that 184, is that a mixed? I mean, I saw it on the same page as some description of some mixed use projects. So is the senior residential home retail on the bottom and no, it didn't sound right to me.
No.
Okay.
We do have some zones now where you can build mixed use, like
The city
heart
center
of this
specific,
new-
yeah.
the heart of the new specific plan area is going to be, it's supposed to be mixed use. So residential on the upper floors, commercial downstairs. But both of these properties that I mentioned are kind of around the perimeter of the specific plan area. So the 184, it's actually going to be 183 now. They had to shave off a unit. That will be purely residential units. And most likely there will be condominium map created for it. So there'll be 4 ownership units.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I wonder, would you mind stepping back a couple of pages on your presentation here? Just let's see. Yeah, here we go. So this was one question that I had, and I think Sharon did a good job of explaining this, but I just want to make sure I understood. Based on the top where I saw Measure J funded projects, I sort of jumped to the conclusion that all of these were paid fully with Measure J money, but I think I saw some other partnerships potentially maybe mentioned on other pages. The question I was going to ask is, some of these look like capital projects. I mean, the bridge emergency and the bridge replacement, those look like multi-year reserve draws, whereas like the resurfacing and the Alta Mesa crosswalk improvement, those are like maybe annual draws. I'll give you 2 very specific questions. Question number 1 is, what understanding there's some variability in it, how much on annum do you guys normally take on Measure J? And number 2 kind of was my question about, are those top 2 projects some sort of special capital project that either combine funds from other sources or involved an extraordinary draw from saved up funds from multiple years?
So the Canyon Road Bridge project has been kind of in the works for a really long time, the replacement project. And so the total project budget, and don't quote me on this, it's about $10 to $11 million. So the Measure J fund is just a portion of it.
Just a portion of it, okay.
Right. I wish we could build a bridge for $345,000.
That would be impressive.
That would be impressive. But
I wouldn't drive across it.
But other funds that were used for the Canyon Road Bridge replacement project are the Caltrans Highway Bridge Program funds, and I think we put some Measure K funds in there, I believe. And then for the temporary bridge emergency project, that project actually came about in the middle of the design of the replacement project. So, back in the 2017 when we had a bunch of rains, there was actually a landslide up to the southwest of the bridge, and it came down and it damaged the original bridge. So since our new bridge wasn't ready to be built, we actually went in and did an emergency project where we removed the old bridge and then replaced it or rented a Navy bridge or a truss bridge. So it just came in.
Yeah, an engineered bridge. Got it.
Right. And then they just kind of they assembled it on site and pulled it across. It was actually pretty amazing. I saw videos of it. And so we were renting that bridge and got FEMA money for that because of the natural disaster in California.
Right.
So that's, and I don't remember what that one ended up being for the project itself. But the 234,000 was only a portion of.
Yeah, these are just the right. So these are expenditures from Measure J, but they don't represent the fullness of the project. I get that now. Then thank you. That really does help because there was something that wasn't well, you helped put it in context and I do understand it much better now. Thank you for that. Also, I gotta say, I don't know who's writing grants for your city, but whoever is pretty talented, because as we look through the next few slides here, it was pretty clear. Well, even from some of the others, the money that was coming into these was coming from a variety of funding sources that included grants and collaborations with the county and so forth. And so I just have to say, it's pretty impressive. Whoever's doing some of this financing is doing a really great service for your community. Can someone remind me what Measure K is? I don't remember what that was when that was passed.
That's the local sales tax, the 1 cent sales tax.
That's the 1 cent. Okay. All right. All right. And then I had one more question, and trying to think what it was. Mr. Kowalski or Sharon, whoever's controlling the slides, could you go back to the ones that talked about the development, let's see here, there we go, 69, single family, right? Interesting, yeah, just, I don't know what the previous 6 years look like, but these kinds of numbers are kind of scary to look at, of course, and then look at the number coming down from RENA. Although I don't think a lot of people understand that the RENA number is not the number of houses that you have to build, it's the number of houses that you have to, or the number of units, I should say, not houses, that you have to zone for. You don't have to guarantee that all those units are built, and so it's sometimes not well understood. Anyway, yeah, I think honestly this answers the questions that I did have, and I appreciate you expounding on it, both of you. Did you guys have a good engagement with PlaceWorks? And on that, of course, I say I'm done with my questions. The really interesting thing that I noticed was you named an advisory council to for the city to do some of this envisioning of the downtown or some of this zoning stuff. Were those members pulled from political seats, or were those, and there's a reason, believe me, behind this questioning, were they pulled from different members of like city council and different groups, or were they specifically and purposefully pulled outside of those groups to make sure that the public felt represented in those conversations?
Well, the committee consisted of, it was close to 50 people, I think. So it was a massive group. There were 2 council members, and I believe there were 2 planning commissioners as well. And then it was just a mix of interested citizens.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I really do think that that's a good formula for making feel, especially there can be, in these smaller communities, there can be a lot of sensitivity about development, and it looks like you've done a good job of pulling in people to involve.
Yeah, and PlaceWorks, it was a positive experience. I mean, they have a lot of experience on those types of efforts. And so they're good at kind of working with large groups like that advisory committee.
Yeah, they certainly have a good name.
Yeah.
All right, I really am actually gonna finally shut my motor mouth here. All right, if there are no other comments or questions, I'm going to defer to our chair to potentially make a motion to accept this 2018-2019 growth compliance checklist.
Chair Miller, before we move any further, I'd like to let you know that we did lose member Hallie a little while ago. He had to leave. He had some medical things he had to attend to. We unfortunately do not have quorum.
Okay.
He was our number 8, so we will have to table this item until the next meeting.
Okay.
Actually,
wait, I think he was number 9, wasn't he? Oh, maybe I'm miscounting.
What we can do is we can still forward it to the planning
Planning
committee
committee.
and authority. We will just note that there was not a quorum, but that the
Okay,
item was approved by a majority of the members present.
okay.
Yeah, we don't want to have to make Moraga or Richmond wait an extra
Reappear.
month.
Yeah.
Okay, Ed, I'd like to make a motion, please, to approve the town of Moraga's 2018-2019 growth management program.
I'd
Can I
like,
get a second?
I would like to second it.
Ms. Bristow seconding. Moved by Rosenberg and seconded by Bristow. All right, here comes the vote call.
Committee Member Bristow, how do you vote?
Aye.
Committee Member Hammond,
Approve.
Leahy,
Aye.
Linder,
Aye.
Yao,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Motion passes by majority present. Well,
Right.
technically passes. We will be advancing.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's unanimity in the support here,
Yeah.
and we do appreciate Mr. Kowalski and his partners coming here to help us understand what's going on there in the city of Moraga. Thank you.
I just have a
Thank
quick
you.
question from Mr. Kelly, if I can.
Oh.
Matt, I did notice after the fact, there's some like pretty minor typos in some places in the Measure J checklist, the responses to the, can they be changed? Can I tell you what those typos are, like back in the office tomorrow or something?
Sure. We can fix up any cosmetic items ahead of
Okay.
authority approval. Sure.
Okay.
It's very simple. Very simple 6-month restatement process. It's painless. It's painless.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
I have a quick question for Matt. That 2018, 2019, then that's a catch up, right? We had a couple of them that were catch ups, and because we should we be 2019, 2020 mostly?
No, these are the last of the 18-19s.
Okay. Okay. All right. It's all good. All good. All right. Well, then we can move on so that we don't keep everyone here all night. Let's see. Is this one of those moments we need to have an opportunity for public comment? I think we do, right? All right. So I would like to ask, are there any members of the public having observed this presentation by the town of Moraga? Do you have any public comments? Please raise your hand if so. All right. And Ms. Shahan has indicated that she does not see any hands raised. So onward we progress. Thank you. All right. Moving on. So we have the next item on the agenda is the City of Richmond's calendar year 2018 and 2019 Growth Management Program compliance checklist. Matt, would you do the introductions if you would be so kind?
I definitely would. So tonight, let's see, I'm going to admit Jared real quick.
Yeah.
So tonight, representing Richmond and presenting that city's 2018-2019 Measure J GMP compliance checklist, we have Jonlyn Wales. So I'd like to welcome Jonlyn. You'll definitely see a difference in checklists between the two cities. We saw one of the smallest towns in the county. Now we're going to be looking at one of the larger cities in the county. So should be a nice compare and contrast between, especially the development between the two areas. So I'll hand it over to Jonlyn and let her talk about the city's checklist. Let me just make sure that you can see. I'm going to be operating the screen today. Can you see? Are you seeing the next slide version? Or are you seeing
Seeing the presenter view, Matt.
Okay, let me swap. The Zoom controls always sit right over my PowerPoint controls. Give me a second here. Okay.
Thank you,
Did any-
Matt, for doing this for me. It's just I have spotty Wi-Fi this evening, unfortunately.
Does it look good? Are we still in the,
We're not in present. We're not
Yeah,
in
you-
presentation mode yet. I don't
okay.
think.
I hit swap, but it doesn't like that.
Hit F5 maybe, and then it will engage your choices. I don't know. I could be wrong there.
I'll try this. How about that?
So
Still not
sorry.
in the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Sure.
However,
I'm gonna try one more thing.
okay.
Oh, that looks like it's doing something here.
Oh, maybe there's a lag. Okay, I'm gonna go back to what I just did.
Oh, that looks good. Yeah. All right, now you need to do the swap if you can.
Okay. My apologies. Sorry, Jonlyn.
Oh no, that's quite all right. I would have had
Pull
worse
that drop
problems.
down.
You wouldn't have been able
down,
to
Matt.
see it. That's fine. That's the first page, and plus you have the opportunity
go,
to
that's
see
it.
the
Swap.
second.
There
we are.
go. See, winner.
Thank
Winner,
you
winner,
so
chicken
much,
dinner.
Matt. Thank you very much. Well, my name is Jolene Wells, and I'm a senior planner for the city of Richmond. And for the past couple of reporting periods, I have been the author of the checklist. And I had hoped to have had someone from Public Works with me this evening. However, we had a demolition of a historical building. And it took a lot of our Public Works resources today. So I'm here alone. So bear with me when I go to their transportation. Next slide, please.
Now you're really asking for magic to happen. Let's see.
Okay.
There.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, this side here, I just wanted to represent some of the development that was occurring in the city during those reporting years. And as of March 2019, there were approximately about 543 residential units under construction, and 977 units were entitled, as well as 701 units under review. And for the actual reporting period, we had a total of 20 housing applications that were submitted. And for the RENA numbers, it was like 1102. However, we had 398 approved. We had no SB 35 streamlining permits that were submitted during that time. And then in 2019, we were able to have 91, which were above moderate housing. And we had about 96 applications that were submitted, as well as 251 housing projects. There were none that were streamlined through SB 35 or the use of that program at all. And we actually had the Richmond Ferry service that began on January 10th, 2019, which was part of that reporting period. We also had 2 100-room hotels that were currently under review during that time. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. This shows one of the above projects that we had. It was like Terminal 1, it was a 316-unit residential community that's located currently at Dornan Drive and Brickyard Cove Road. It had received all of its entitlements throughout the year of 2016 and 2017, and it had been constructed within the year of 2018-2019 fiscal year. Next slide, please. This is Nevin Homes, one of our affordable projects that's currently downtown, and it's on 21st and between 21st and 23rd Street. The developer is AMG and Associates, and there was a parking lot prior to this 289 units that were being proposed on these two parcels, which is one is on 22nd and the other is on 21st Street. And it's bordered by 23rd, which is one of our most commercial districts, and it's corridor there. It's consists of two different buildings, each on grade, and there's parking. There's an interior courtyard on the second floor, a community room with an exercise room. And the buildings are 6 stories in height. There are currently 112 studios, 84 one-bedrooms, 53 two-bedrooms units, 30 3-bedrooms, and 10 4-bedroom units. And if you combine both sites, it's a project total of 172 square feet of residential space. And we also have on the ground floor retail along 23rd Street. Next slide, please. And you can see right here where the actual driveways are. We're going to have a mural on that side, which is going to be representative of the diversity that's currently in the city of Richmond. We just received approval on it. And as of last week, the first building was actually filled. And we're currently have applicants moving into the second building. And they received all of their approvals for that building as well. Next slide, please. And this is the Noma subdivision, which is currently over on Marina Bay and Wright Avenue in our Richmond Marina Bay neighborhood. It was currently a vacant 2-story industrial warehouse that was on the site. And the developer Development Solutions Seascape came and proposed to build moderate housing, condos, as well as live-work units for a total of 83 bedrooms, 3-story townhomes, and 25 2-bedroom, 3-story live-work units on the site itself. The project is currently under construction now, even though it did receive its entitlements in 2018. They're almost finished to where they'll be getting their certificate of occupancies. It's a really nice units that they had proposed on this corner, where we had a building that had been there for as long as I had been with the city, which was a little over 12 years, that it had sat vacant for all that time. So it really changed that one corridor there. Next slide, please. And as you can see from this slide, it represents the community building that's currently right there on the corner of Marina Way, as well as Wright Avenue. It's a really nice project. Next slide, please. This project is Shea Homes, which received the general plan amendment during the reporting period. And they also had a rezoning to a planned area district, excuse me. They also received a vesting tentative map, and they went through design review to develop 60 units of market rate condominiums and stacked flats on the Bottoms property, which is south of the Seacliff Estates in the Point Richmond neighborhood near Sandpiper Spit. The project is developed on 6.23 acres of the site. It's currently underdeveloped right now, and there's a total of 9 buildings. The views are magnificent of the bay from this, on this site here. Next slide, please. And this is the Quarry residential, which is currently over in the same area, Point Richmond. And it's a market rate project as well that has not begun construction yet. Next slide, please. And this is just another view of it, to where you can see the landscaping and what some of the rendering of what the architecture is going to look like. Next slide, please. To give you an idea of some of our transportation projects, I'd like to first introduce some of our plans that we currently have for the city of Richmond, such as the pedestrian plan and also our bicycle master plan. And we actually adopted a plan during the reporting period, which was Richmond's first mile, last mile transportation strategic plan. And this plan was for the first mile, last mile strategies. And it was really, the policy was to provide important connections to public transportation. And we wanted to have the bulk of a person's trip to begin at the first and the last leg of their trip from a transit station. So we have several different bicycle routes that go from our transportation hub, which is right downtown, right off of Barrett Avenue. And you can actually have train, bicycle, or even transportation as far as the bus system, all stopping right there. And the project that I showed you before, the Nevin Avenue project, is about, I would say 500 feet from our BART station. So it's very close too. And then of course we have the ferry that's down there that opened up in 2019. And that last diagram down there shows the ferry station. We were very pleased with that. The ridership was up considerably during that period of time as well. And even in post-COVID, we find that we're still having a lot of riders using the ferry going over to San Francisco. Next slide, please. And this just gives you an example of when we first broke ground and we actually opened up the ferry. Next slide, please. And that concludes my presentation. And I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, put it out to the members of the committee. Thank you. That was an excellent presentation, Ms. Wales. It looks like Ms. Linder has a question. Ms. Linder, go ahead, take the floor.
Hi there. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ms. Wales. I live in Concord, but I'm out in Richmond, that area, pretty frequently. Congratulations on all these new projects and progress towards RENA, and especially the Nevin Avenue project near BART. I wanted to ask you about the other projects, like the Sandpiper Spit and the Marina Bay, which I think are over kind of on the western edge of town. Is there public transit available to those? What's the conditions on the ground? Maybe you can take the ferry from there. I'm just not super familiar with that particular area.
Okay. Well, the one over in Marina, the NOMA project, it's only, I'd say, roughly about a 10-minute walk to the ferry. And we do have transportation over there. We have we have a lot of bicycle routes that we've changed a lot of the lanes over there. The development is providing, I want to say, between 50, I want to say, maybe not that much. I won't quote it. But he's developed a lot of the bicycle paths that we have there, the class 1 and class 2 lanes. But it's a very nice casual walk over to the ferry from that development. And then the other one, unfortunately, you will have to use your vehicle to come down to the ferry, but it's within about 5 miles. Well, no, less than that, 3 miles, excuse me.
Okay.
Because you'd come down the hill off of Sandpiper Spit and you'd be right there by the Ford building.
Got it. I think it would be bikeable. It sounds like the Sandpiper Spit is, clearly it's not a thoroughfare. It's on a peninsula. So hopefully that would be like an attractive bikeable option for those folks.
Yes.
Thank you.
I don't know how to, because I don't have my picture on there. I would like to, I'm not asking so much as I'm very impressed with your Nevin homes, that you had such diversity going from studio apartment to 4 bedrooms. And you actually went up 6 stories and it looked beautiful. I just think, I just want to compliment you on your creativity of providing for different types of households. I think you did a great job there.
Thank you. We're very pleased with the way that came out, especially with its location to downtown and then to a lot of commercial thoroughfares that are close by too. We were very pleased with that project.
I remember
then
you mentioning that
Excuse me?
that it started out as 2 empty lots or parking lots, I should say, and then evolved into this
Yes.
project, right?
Yes, that's
I hate
correct.
to ask it quite this way. It's certainly not meant to put anything on the defensive, but just curious. The parking needs that were being met by that, were they offset in some way or were the parking lots just not heavily used? You just mentioned it was next to a very busy retail area. And by the way, I'm glad to see the housing there. So please don't misunderstand my comment.
Oh, no, not at all, Chair. It's just that they were underused.
Yeah.
And it was
So it was
just
perfect.
empty. Yes. And it wasn't even a landscape parking lot. So
Right.
you could tell it was in need of some type of development on top of it. And it
And then
had
it's-
sat that way for years. Well, I'd say about 6 years.
Well, you had even mentioned also the NOMA, which I realize is a different project, but you'd even mentioned that the NOMA project had replaced a building that had been there and the entire 12 years that you'd been there. So there's some sort of some backfill of some old spaces. But the NOMA, it went into what you said. You replaced a commercial building there. Did they have to apply for a sort of a rezoning? Was it allowed to be residential mixed use, or was it commercial only and they had to rezone?
We did rezone that site to a PA, which is very similar to a planned unit development. And it was also a historical building too, that we had to go through the HPC because we wanted to demolish it. And we found that the integrity had been lost over all the years that it had sat vacant.
Mhm.
So we knew we could not really keep a lot of it. However, it had the most beautiful hardwood, redwood that was there. And Redwood Baron, which is now building a building for itself down there by the Ford Point, was able to utilize that wood. So we were able to recycle a lot of that.
That's cool.
as
That'll
they
preserve
were-
a bit of the history. That
Yes.
history will carry forward. That's nice.
Yes, we were very pleased with that.
How have you been attracting these developers? I mean, I suppose they show up on your doorstep, but you've got quite a diversity of developers showing up, offering you everything from, moderately priced to even some low income. Just kind of curious if there's some sort of pleasant connection. I mean, some positive relationships that have been built over the years. I'm trying to phrase it correctly. People make the world go round here.
That's true. I think it's just our economic development group. They're very active. They attend a lot of different workshops and conferences. And we also have a San Francisco Bay Times newsletter that we try to put a lot of our projects in for the fourth quarter. So we try to get Richmond's name out there, and it's so close. It's one of the cities in the Bay Area that still has that opportunity to grow, especially with a lot of the infill that we currently have development.
And then my last question, this actually is my last question. I'm just kind of curious about where Measure J money has helped your, helped your city in this past year or two? I'm sorry, in the 18-19, I guess, window. I know it's in the packet and whatnot, but I just wondered if you have some rough ideas of, well, we really got a lot of bike lanes out of this. We got, some, city, complete streets or something in any areas.
Yes, in fact, we did. We had a lot of bike lanes that we were able to map out, especially the ones along Barrett Avenue. And then out where our industrial areas are meeting our commercial zones, we were able to map that. And then, of course, TRAC has been very instrumental in getting a lot of grants. And for seems like every bike lane that we provide, they're able to find funding to continue it so that we can finish the San Francisco Bay Trail. So we were able to do that as well. So a lot of that Measure J funding went to our local streets for sure.
Yeah. And then got partnered. That's the best way when you double the effect. That's great. Good work, especially that ferry. I mean, and then being able to plant it close enough to your transit station and everything. You've got a real hub there. That's fantastic.
Thank you. And it's also by the National Park Service too. They have their offices down there.
Nice.
So we have other amenities right there.
Very good. Other questions from members of the committee? Okay. Is Mr. Yao the closest? I know that we're currently short a Richmond representative. Is Mr. Yao potentially the closest member to you?
Yeah.
We do have to
I'm
call
down
for
to three.
public comment first
Oh.
before we.
See, she's saving me again. All right. Are there members of the public that would like to weigh in on this with opinion or comments at this time? All right. None. Thank you, Fifi. All right. Then I will turn it over to you, Mr. Yao, if you wish.
Thank you, Ed. I'd just like to make the motion that we accept the City of Richmond's GMP for approval by our committee.
All right. Can I get a second?
Second that.
And that was for Mr. Leahy. Okay, first by Mr. Yao, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Ms. Shahan, would you call for the roll vote?
Yes, and I'm gonna call some extra names because I saw some people pop up that weren't originally, so I'm just gonna start at the top. Committee
Okay.
Member Ash. Committee Member Ash, how do you vote?
Aye or nay?
Committee Member Bristow?
Aye.
Committee Member Halley? Committee Member Hammond?
Aye.
Committee Member Hurley? Committee Member Isola? Committee Member Leahy?
Aye.
Committee Member Linder?
Aye.
Committee Member Moriarty? Committee Member Powles? Committee Member Vega? Committee Member Yao?
Aye.
Vice Chair Rosenberg?
Aye.
Chair Miller?
Aye.
Committee Member Ash?
Bueller? I think everyone's having technical difficulties tonight,
Aye.
so that can be forgiven. Oh,
Was
is that
an
you?
aye? Thank you.
Excellent. 1492.
Well, that brings the vote count to 8. So this motion passes unanimously by all present.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ms. Wales. That was a wonderful presentation. Richmond is bustling.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Moving on. Let's see. What have we? Well, we're moving on to sort of the general administrivia. Next item on the agenda will be reports. Anyone? What? Actually, let's see here. Yep. Next meeting as the next item on the agenda is reports. So does anyone have a report? Did you attend any of the CCTA technical or subcommittee or even the main meeting and wanted to share some observations? Okay, all right. Let's see. Next up is member and staff comments. So open it up for any comments from members or staff on transportation happenings or upcoming activities. I'll make one brief comment. I have to pound the table one last time to just say that the last month's meeting was exceptional, and still drinking the data from that, from all that analysis. So thanks again to staff for their very hard work and getting some high quality presentations. Correspondence and communications. So we're moving on to that. Are there any like news articles, or Matt, do you have a news article you'd like to share?
Yeah, we put an interesting article that relates back to our conversations the last few months about, you know, what things are going to look like when we all come back. And it's an article about BART, what each individual line is looking like and where they're seeing recovery, you know, certain city pairs or, you know, origin and destinations are seeing a real recovery while some are staying very low, like they were at the beginning of the shelter in place. So, and we thought it's an interesting article, so we thought we'd include it, but also to set the stage, we're going to try and get BART staff in here for our next meeting, for our July meeting, to really talk about what they're planning to do, you know, to really keep up with the growing ridership that they're finally starting to experience. And talk about them, you know, what their plans are in terms of schedules and frequency and all that kind of stuff. So we're working with their staff, and hopefully we'll have them here for our July meeting.
Excellent. That's something to look forward to for sure. I don't know anyone that doesn't have some questions about some strategic questions. Just wondering, it's always nice to look behind the curtain, and they'll have more data than we do. So I do look forward to that. Anyone else see something interesting in the news related to our purview that you'd like to share with the rest of the group? All right.
And you can always forward an article if you see something to Fifi or myself, and we will get them into the packet.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Many eyes make for it. That's good. Let's see. So I guess supposed to ask if there are any requests for future meeting agendas. I mean, Matt just covered that BART's coming, but are there, since I only asked for news articles and so forth, let me ask if there are any requests specifically from members of the committee for topics for future meetings.
I do have one, Ed. That is, maybe we could have a report from staff on how things are going on 680, the fast track lanes that have almost been entirely developed, except in the Walnut Creek area. Let's hear about how successful they are and what the future looks like, please.
That sounds like an excellent topic, Mr. Rosenberg. I know there was a kind of a holiday during COVID, and you could ride in the fast lane for free a lot of the time. So it'd be interesting to see how that's going to evolve in the coming year. So excellent suggestion. Anyone else?
Yeah, if I actually on that same point, it'd be interesting to get information about whether or not Highway 24 is in the plans for a fast track express lane at some point, or you know what the development plans going forward for something like that.
Yes, and I see Ms. Linder has also raised her hand as well. That's a good question, Mr. Leahy.
Hi there. I read a couple places that pedestrian deaths and bicyclist deaths are actually on the rise, not just last year, but in the past 10 years. and I'd be interested to hear something about that and what can be done.
Yeah, I've got our Vision Zero effort on.
Yeah.
I've had it on the waiting list to bring to you guys, and so we'll bring that to you. And we've been looking at those numbers as part of our Vision Zero work, the increase in injuries over this last year and fatalities. So we can definitely report on that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right. It looks like I should ask for public comment on maybe the last couple of items. If there are any comments on the correspondence and communication, or the staff comments that we've made, or anything in the last couple of items. Does anyone want to comment on that from the public? And just so we dot all the i's and cross the t's, let me be clear. We did not deliver any summary reports on committees, so but if you have a public comment on that, we did correspondence and communications. Matt spoke about the BART report coming up and so forth. And we also asked about future topics. The public is welcome to weigh in on any one of those 3 items if you would like. So please raise your hand. All right. Well, fantastic. I really do appreciate it, everyone, for your service. The next regular CAC meeting is going to be Wednesday, July 28th at 6 p.m. And with that, this meeting is adjourned at 7:27 p.m. tonight.